So today's topic, we're talking about assets, the best asset to purchase in 2020. And typically when you look at an asset, you want to look at a few different variables. You want to look at who the asset or that stock or where that asset, what class is it in, meaning what industry it is in. You want to look at the growth potential of that asset. You want to look at a few things in regards to, positioning yourself and positioning your family to being able to generate cash flow or income or wealth from this asset. That's typically what we want to do when we're investing in the market, when we're investing in products, or we're investing in shares of a company. And so when you look at an asset, you want to look at its upside potential as well as the hedge against risk. And risk is what's the cost or the cost associated with you losing money, or the cost associated with you not being able to grow this asset or generate cash flow from this asset, or for it to be a positive asset and not a liability in your life. A liability is something that takes money away, not add value to. And so we're talking about the number one asset to purchase or to invest in 2020 or over the next 10, 20 years. And the number one asset to invest in, you ready? I've been doing a lot of research on this asset, and I've actually dibbled and dabbled with this asset over the last 10 years for sure. And this investment in this particular asset, let me put this bracelet back on because my mama made it for me. This particular asset, because she know I just love, red and green. Green is my favorite color. Red and green is, for my people. But anyway, so when I invested into this asset, let me tell you the growth potential of this asset. When I invested into this asset, specifically speaking about this investment that I made 7 years ago, not 10, 7 years ago, this asset brought me literally about $100,000 my first year. The second year, the asset did maybe $40,000. The next year, this asset did about $50,000. The next year, the asset did about $20,000. Then the next year, the asset did about $120,000, and then it went to $400,000. Then it went to where this asset is producing $1 million in gross growth every single year. And this asset that I'm talking about is me. The asset that I'm talking about is you, because there's no asset class in America where you can literally put $10,000 into it and it can generate you, it can perpetuate $100,000, $50,000, $1 million, $150,000, $80,000 return on a $10,000 investment. Jake, what exactly do you mean? What I mean is that I invested about $5,000 into my education, my knowledge base, into books, into personal coaching. That was my first initial package, and I dispersed about $5,000 in my self-education over 2 years. And that included licenses to be in the industry that I'm in. It included personal training and coaching, relentless hours of learning and re-educating myself and breaking barriers. And this asset that I invested in that first year, I produced $104,000 my first year of investing. In that year, I only invested maybe like $1,000 into my personal education. So when it comes to you growing, when it comes to you looking for the best asset that you can purchase, there is no better asset than you. And one of the things that I get frustrated about is because everyone does a bunch of analysis on everybody else's companies. You try to find the best stock and the best dividends, and the best stock and the best dividends that can be paid out is from you investing in yourself. And Jake, what do I mean? Jake, what do you mean by yourself? What I mean by investing in yourself, I mean that you understand you have to make a decision and you have to analyze what industry that you want to be in that has the highest, watch this, it has the highest return rate. And so what do you mean? I'm talking about the highest growth potential. So when I was a licensed educator inside of the school district of LISD and DISD here in Dallas, Fort Worth, what I realized was it didn't matter how much I invested in my education, my income cap was capped. My income was capped. because I was intending to be a superintendent. And I looked at the superintendent's income, and I'm like, yo, the superintendent makes like $120,000, $100,000, sometimes $80,000 in this specific industry. And the only other way to go up was political office. And I didn't want to go into political office. So what I did, I looked at the scale. I looked at what the superintendent was making, $120,000 a year. And then I looked at me as a teacher. Because I invested in education to learn how to start a nonprofit, we got a contract for $33,000, and then I was making $60,000 as a teacher, as a first year teacher, because I realized that if you went to a Title I school in DISD, you got a higher stipend, and if you coached, they gave you more stipend. So I was able to stretch the amount of income that I could make by coaching and then being in a Title I school. And so I was making $60,000 a year as a teacher. I was making $33,000 with my nonprofit organization. And then I was coaching and teaching people nonprofit on the side. And so when I began to teach people how to get contracts on the side, my income was at $104,000 as a teacher in the DFW area. And I was making $60,000 teaching, $33,000 as a nonprofit. And then I was teaching people how to do their nonprofit on the side. And those three things, I look at the income potential in my specific industry, and I realized that I was capped. There's not too many places that I could go where I could make more income than I was making. I was a first year teacher. And so what I wanted to do, I wanted to find a better industry, a better place to place my gift of teaching so that I can make unlimited income. And so then I began to research the best industries to be in that tailored to my gift of teaching. And so when I'm talking about the asset, the number one asset for you to invest in over the next decade, possibly 20 years, is something that has been proven to be true. And it's the asset of you. It's you taking books. We built a blueprint. This is a blueprint of what we teach people on how to build a business. This is my teaching. This is my curriculum. I thank God that I was actually a licensed teacher because I learned how to build curriculum and lesson plans. But that's not the point that I'm making today. The point that I'm making today is simply this. You got to analyze this asset just like you would the stock market, just like you would real estate. You got to figure out the income potential of this asset in this specific industry or asset class. And so when I figure out the industry, I got to analyze and see how far can I go up in this industry? How much can I expand in this industry? And how much will it cost me to be able to generate the cash flow or the income that I can bring in from this specific industry? And what I began to realize when I did my research, I began to see that my income ability was capped in the teaching field, specifically public teaching. So then I looked at charter schools, then I looked at private schools, then I looked at possibly collegiate, then I looked at possibly, junior college, and I realized that my scale, my sliding scale of being able to generate more cash flow and then eliminate me from being in the actual making of the income was limited. And so then I began to start doing research. So I invested more money into learning how to build a course online, how to build a school online. Because I realized, I said, wait a minute. First of all, if I owned my own school, I can generate more cash flow. However, if it's a nonprofit organization, I can't really build it and be a capitalist like I am. And so I had to kind of dibble and dabble in what industries best fit me. And I had a passion and I had an understanding and a yearning and a pull toward the financial sector. And I realized that the financial sector's its income was unlimited. It was limitless because in the financial sector, it's the number one way to be able to make substantial income. And if you wanted to generate cash flow. So then I began to invest into my knowledge. Watch this. Notice I keep saying invest. I began to invest into my knowledge base. I began to invest into my understanding of the industry, purchasing books, getting one-on-one mentorship. And it's funny that there's a lot of people who are in debt, $50,000, $100,000 in school and not using their degree. But when it comes to you actually investing in a coach that can scale you, give you the ability to navigate and not have to go the long way when it comes to mastering a skill set, we question that. And so I never questioned investing in mentors. I paid $20,000 for a mentor. I paid $10,000 for a mentor. I paid $5, $10, $100. I paid anything that I could so that I can increase my knowledge base so that I can become an expert, a specialist with the least amount of time. That's why you want a mentor. The shortcut to success is mentorship. The shortcut to success is mentorship, because a mentor is supposed to be like a tour guide, and a mentor being a tour guide is supposed to take you where they've already been. And so when you talk about a mentor versus a coach teaches you concepts they learn to help push you into the game. A mentor has been in the game. They've been there. They've done that. And your road to success is a lot faster when you have a mentor that's in a specific industry. So when you invest into that mentor, you're not investing into the mentor, you're investing into your stock, increasing your knowledge base, which will inherently, it'll make you more valuable in the marketplace, therefore forcing you to have to get paid more. So when you think of a coach versus a mentor, what I want you to think about a coach like in sports. A coach, there's a bunch of coaches that have never played basketball before, but there are great coaches and they know how to get the best out of you so that you can win a championship. So what a coach does, a coach pulls the best out of you. A mentor shows you what they did to get the best out of them and then forces you to get the best out of you yourself. A coach pushes your best. A mentor pulls your best. Oh my gosh, that was a nugget. A coach pushes your best. A mentor pulls your best, because a mentor has been where you want to go. So as I was trying to find the best asset to purchase, I didn't look in the stock market. I didn't listen to financial advisors. I didn't listen to CNN. I wanted to know, what industry could I invest in me so I can learn, develop skill sets that can make me recession proof, opportunity proof, so that I can be able to build what I wanted to, which was a school. And so I invested in education for learning how to build a school online, learning how to build courses, learning how to launch courses, learning how to do those things. And then I built my financial firm to be able to support my students that went through this financial education institute. So long story short, now we are a 7-figure producing company, not because I'm special, but because I understood that I was an undervalued asset. So what people teach you is to find assets undervalued, put some work into the asset and sell it for a higher price, or take it to public and allow people to invest into it. So I understood that I had potential, but I was an undervalued asset that just needed some people and some time for something to get put inside of me. I needed some rehabilitation. So when you look at a property, you look at its potential, you look at the value of the market around it, and then you take the money, you put the money into the property. The property, then guess what? Then you begin to update the stuff inside. Now watch this. Now, when you look at a company and you see a company that's undervalued, and you want to purchase a company, you look at the potential of the company, you look at the industry that it's in, and then when you purchase that company, you change the insides so that the insides can now, so the outside can now see the growth from the inside. So when you look at real estate and when you look at business, I begin to see two parallels. I understood that my market, the industry that I was in, was unlimited. I knew that I was undervalued. I was an undervalued asset, but I had to change my insides. Cousins, y'all don't want to talk to me. See, I had to change the inside of me so that the external side of me can be valued in the marketplace at what is supposed to be valued. And now that price is a lot more steep than what I started, because I invested in me. So the best asset that you can purchase in 2020, in 2030, in 2040 is not, family, listen, it is not Apple. It is not Amazon. It is not Yahoo. It is not Google. It is not Facebook. It is not Costco. It is not Sam's. It is you. The best thing to invest in, the best asset is you. And you got to see your value. You have to see that you're undervalued and you have potential to be changed so that you can make unlimited income. And that can be what we call recession proof.